Hey, what's going on, guys? It's your boy, Nerdmodon, and welcome to episode 2 of Battle Reports, a video series where I'll be going over weapons in Battlefield 4 and breaking down the statistics of the weapon to provide you guys with a better idea of how the weapon is going to perform. So without further ado, let's get started. So for this episode, we're going to be taking a look at the M416. Now this weapon does have a 750 rounds per minute with a velocity clocking in at 600 meters a second, so by and large, you can look at that information and probably tell that the weapon is very powerful. It's definitely very potent, it's very good at dropping the oppositional player, as well as the leading times are pretty consistent. You're not going to have to do it too much, but it definitely could be a little bit better when it comes down to the main gist of it. Now, of course, transitioning your guys' eyes over to the damage model, you guys will notice that this weapon does 25 damage up until 8 meters. Of course, after 8 meters, you're going to see a gradual decline of the overall damage being outputted at range. However, once you reach 55 meters, the minimum damage that you'll be occupying is 18 damage. Of course, anything after 55 meters is going to be a steady amount of 18 damage, which is still pretty good. So this weapon does perform up to standards with the other assault rifles that are chambered in a similar round or perform in a similar way. Now, of course, taking a look at the reload speeds followed by the magazine size, this will give us a better idea of how quick this weapon reloads and the magazine size or the amount of rounds in the magazine that the weapon can occupy. So of course, taking a look at the short reload, you guys are going to notice that it's going to be clocking in at 1.85 seconds, which is a pretty speedy reload, and it allows you to get right back in the action as quick as humanly possible. Now, of course, you guys will notice that the long reload, and that is if you have no rounds left in your magazine, you've expelled all ammunition in that magazine, you're going to have to sit through a 2.4 second reload, which even then, that really isn't that bad, and it's pretty easy to micromanage your ammunition in most cases. Now, of course, with that information kind of talked about, let's give you guys an idea of the magazine size. So the magazine is going to be a 30 round magazine plus one in the chamber. You add both of those together, of course, and you get 31 rounds total. And that's definitely a lot of damage to be able to output downrange, but it's also pretty consistent with most of the other assault rifles. You usually don't see a whole lot of deviation, especially with this kind of a round, as well as the overall magazine construction. And finally, let's take a look at the recoil numbers to give you guys an idea of how much this weapon is going to kick, as well as how to decrease the amount of recoil being occupied on screen. So of course, taking a look at the horizontal numbers first, we're going to take a look at the left pole of 0.1 as well as a right pole of 0.3. So that means that the recoil is going to be tending a little bit more towards the right, so obviously compensating for that would be to pull a little bit to the left. However, taking a look at the vertical numbers, you guys will notice that the vertical recoil is clocking in at 0.32, which is a pretty sufficient amount of recoil. I mean, it's not as bad as other weapons, but considering that this weapon doesn't have the highest rate of fire, you're not going to be always seeing it, and it's easy to compensate for this by pulling just simply down. So of course, we've kind of covered which way the weapon is going to be pulling, so obviously you want to try to point the cursor in the middle of the screen. And to do that, you just need to pull down and to the left, and that's going to keep your reticule as close to the middle of the screen as possible without it deviating in a vertical manner or a horizontal manner. But anyway, guys, that is all the information when it comes down to the M416, of course. Talking a little bit about how it performs and overall the statistics that it brings forward to the battlefield is definitely very important. It's nice to be able to dissect the weapon and realize that it does have potential, and it's definitely a very good weapon when it comes down to the main gist of it, and it does perform up to standards, and it's a very easy weapon to use in multiple different circumstances. You can really outfit this weapon to be a medium or long range weapon, as well as trying to learn the overall recoil patterns that it occupies, considering that it does not pull or kick as much as some other weapons that are in the game. And hopefully you guys enjoyed today's episode. Of course, if you guys have any recommendations for future episodes, feel free to let me know in the comments below. And until then, guys, I'll see you in the next installation. And this is NMO, and I'm going to be signing out. Peace.